Chulin Daf Gimel. We're starting 6 lines from the top. The Gemara is continuing the discussion we had in the previous daf of how to answer up the contradiction and inferences in the Mishnah between Hakol Sheichten, which sounds like Chatchila, Shechtasing She'er, which sounds B'diavad. What's important to keep in mind is that the Mishnah has 4 parts to it, 4 clauses. The first part is Hakol Sheichten, second part is Shechtasing She'er, the third part is Chutz Micher Shet V'Katan Shema Yikalku Shchitasan, except for a deaf mute, a mentally impaired, and a katan, because they might be Mikalka Shchitasan. That's the third part, they might mess up the Shchita. And then the fourth part is that any of them who shechted with a supervisor, it's okay. So we have 4 parts. Hakol Sheichten, Shechtasing She'er, Chutz Micher Shet V'Katan Shema Yikalku Shchitasan, and V'Kulan Sheshachtu V'Acherin Roinaisan. So when supervising, then the Shchita is kosher. Says Abaye, this is how we understand the Mishnah. Hachi Katani. Hakol Sheichten Va'afilu Kusi. Everyone can shecht, even a Kusi. What's a Kusi? A Kusi, Kusim are the nation that Sancheir Melech Asher, after he exiled the 10 tribes, brought people to populate Eretz Yisrael. One of them were the Kusim. And the Navi in Melachim Perkid Zayin says the story that they did not know the laws of the Lord of the land. They did not know how to fear Hashem. And so Hashem sent lions to attack them. They complained to Melech Ashur. Melech Ashur brought them a kohen to teach them how to serve Hashem. And then the lions stopped attacking them. So these were a nation that was Megayer. So says Rashi, even Kusi who shechts is okay. Bamedvar Mamurim, says Abaye, when are we discussing? When do we say that a Kusi is okay? When Yisrael is oimid on top of him and supervises that the Kusi is shechting correctly. Aval yoytze v'nichnas lo yishchait. But if a Jew is just coming in and out, he's not there the entire time, then the Kusi should not be sheichet l'chatchila. V'im shachat, however, if the Kusi did shecht either way, choytach kazayis basar, he should cut a kazayis of the basar. He should cut a small piece of basar, v'noisen loy, and he should give the Kusi to eat the basar. Achloi mutter. If the Kusi ate it, then we can assume that the shchita was okay and you can eat the animal. Mutter lechol shchitasei. Lo achloi also lechol shchitasei. If the Kusi refuses to eat it, then we know that the shchita wasn't okay, and you're not allowed to eat from this animal. Now, what's going on here is that the Kusim were makbid on shchita, and therefore they knew how to shecht. However, they didn't care about the aver of lifnei iver. There's a prohibition in the Torah that you can't put a stumbling block in front of a blind person, which means that, which applies to also all situations where you're causing a michshol, a stumbling block to another person. You can't give him isser. The Kusim did not believe in this prohibition, and therefore we can't trust them when they give us meat. If they give us meat and they say it's kosher, they could be lying. They don't care if they make us eat not kosher meat. And therefore, if a Jew is standing on top, Hakol Sheichten means if a Jew is standing and watching a Kusi, then you can eat from the Shechita. However, if a Jew wasn't there, he was just walking in and out, that's not enough. And therefore, you have to test the Kusi. If the Kusi himself eats it, then you know that it's kosher because they are actually makpid on eating kosher. However, if he refuses to eat it, then that means you can't trust him. What's the next clause in the Mishnah? Chutz mechar shet v'katan dafilu di'evid nami loy. Achar shet v'katan, even b'di'evid if they shech it's not good, shema yishu, shema yidrusu, shema yachlidu, because they might mess up in the shechita. Like we said, shehiyah means that if you pause during the shechita, yidrusu means if you chop the neck instead of slicing it, and shema yachlidu if the knife becomes hidden in the middle. The kulan sheshachtu. The next clause in the Mishnah is the kulan sheshachtu. All of these that shechted. We said if you're supervised, then it's okay. Ahoy. What are we dealing with? If we're going back to discuss the Chereshet V'Katan Alakoi, we were just talking about them. V'im shachtu mibayalei. It should say v'im shachtu. It shouldn't say v'chulan sheshachtu and all of these. We just talked about this. Just say and if Chereshet V'Katan, and if they shechted with the supervisor, it's okay. So it can't just mean Chereshet V'Katan. Must be it's including something else. Ela akusi. Says Abaye, it's going back on kusi. And if a kusi shechts with acher roinaisan, with someone supervising, then it's kosher and it's fine, b'diavad, it's okay. Says the Gemara, Ha'amart, didn't you say that the pshat in the first clause in the Mishnah, Kichi Yisrael oimid al gabav shachit afilu lechatchila? The first clause in the Mishnah was saying that hakol shoichtin means even lechatchila, and that is discussing when Yisrael is supervising over the kusi, and that's fine lechatchila. And now you're telling me that the last clause of the Mishnah, v'kulan sheshachtu with the supervisor, shchitas aksheira, which means it's only kosher b'diavad. That's a contradiction. In the beginning you told me that it's lechatchila if Yisrael is supervising over a kusi, and now in the Sefer you're telling me that it's discussing also if Yisrael is supervising a kusi and it's only kosher b'diavad. Says the Gemara, kasha, this is an open question on Abaye, we don't have an answer. Omar Raava. Raava has a different approach. And he asks on Abaye. Abaye was making an assumption that the word shchitas okshera is talking about a case when a Jew is walking in and out. He's not constantly overseeing the kusi. He's walking in and out. It's called yoytze v'nichnas. He's leaving and coming back in. Constantly leaving and coming back in. And Abaye was saying, the lechatchila, that's not okay. You have to test the kusi. And that's why it's called b'diavad. Says Raava, v'yoytze v'nichnas lechatchila loy, is a yoytze v'nichnas, someone, a mashgiach, who's coming in and out, is that not okay lechatchila? V'atnan, we have a Mishnah regarding yayin nesach hamaniach oived kechavim. If you leave a oived kechavim, an idolater, b'chanusai, in his store, v'Yisrael yoytze v'nichnas, and Yisrael is coming in and out. Meaning it's not a constant watch. The Yisrael is only going in and out, watching the oived kechavim in his store. Then it's mutter. You can trust that the wine is mutter, that the guy was not menasach the wine, because he fears for the Baal Bayis coming in and out, and therefore he's not going to do anything. Says the Gemara, Hasa mikatani maniach. Over there, maybe that's also b'diavad. It doesn't say maniach that you can proactively just do it and it's fine. Ha maniach, if you already left the oived kechavim, then it's okay. Ha maniach katoni. It says ha maniach diavad. It's b'diavad. Ela mehacha. Says Raava, I'll bring you a proof from this price. It says explicitly that a watcher does not have to be sitting there and watching constantly. Even if he's coming in and out, then it's mutter. So Raava argues with the Abaye's assertion that yoytze v'nichnas is only b'diavad. Ela Raava, hachi katoni. This is what the Mishnah means. Hakol sheichtin va'afilu kusi. Even a kusi is allowed to shecht. Bamed var mamurim. When do we say that a kusi is allowed to shecht? Kishi Yisrael yoytze v'nichnas. And that is lechatchila. And that's what Hakol sheichtin is saying. If a Jew is being yoytze v'nichnas, then you can let a kusi shecht lechatchila. Aval ba'um tzoi sheshochat. If you go inside, there was no one supervising, not even yoytze v'nichnas. You go inside and you find the kusi that he shechted, an animal, choytech kazayis basar. Then the way to know whether it's mutter, then you test him by cutting off a piece of meat, v'noisen loy, and you give it to the kusi. Achloi mutter lechom shchitasai. If the kusi eats it, then you're allowed to eat from the shchita. Loy achloi also lechom shchitasai. If he doesn't eat it, then you know he messed up and he just doesn't care to give you non-kosher meat. Chutz me'cher shot v'katan. Except for Cherushet v'Katan, Dafilu Diavad Namaloi. This is the next clause in the Mishnah. This is talking that even b'Diavad Cherushet v'Katan Namaloi Shema Yishu, Shema Yidrusu, v'Shema Yachlidu. And then the Gemara, then the fourth clause comes along. V'Kulan Sheshachtu. What's that talking about? Ahoy, says the Gemara. Ilay ma Cherushet v'Katan Alakai. We just talked about it. V'Im Shachnu B'Ilay. Just say Im Shachtu. So must be Kulan is coming to include something else. Ela akusi, it's going back akusi. Says the Gemara, Hamarta, didn't you say, Afilu yoytze v'nichnas shachid l'chatchila? If someone's yoytze v'nichnas, it's shachid l'chatchila. That's what Raava said, that yoytze v'nichnas is enough. And if you have a Jew that's coming in and out of the room while the kusi is shechting, that's okay. And now you're telling me that the Sefer is discussing a case where Yisrael must be actually supervising and actually have seen the shechita of the kusi in order to be kosher. Kasha. Says the Gemara, Kasha. It's a question, open-ended question on Raava. Rabashi has a different approach. Rabashi Omar, Hachi Katani. This is what the Mishnah means. Hakol Sheichtin va'afilu Yisrael mumur. Anyone's allowed to shecht, even a Yisrael mumur. A Yisrael mumur means Yisrael who does averis. Says the Gemara, mumur lemai. What does he do averis? Which averis does he do? Lechol nevelis l'tei oven. He eats nevelis l'tei oven, which means that he does not mind eating not kosher if it's convenient. If it's convenient and it's easy, then he'll eat kosher. If it's inconvenient, then he won't go the long way to make sure that the food is kosher. Like Rashi says, l'tei oven ki lo mishkach heter achil nevelis. When he doesn't find heter, then he eats nevelis. So Rabashi says that that's what Hakol Sheichtin is talking about. He's talking about a Yisrael mumur who would usually eat nevelis unless it's convenient to keep kosher. Uchde Raava, and like Raava says, Dama Raava Yisrael mumur oichel nevelis. A Yisrael mumur means a Yisrael who's over averis, and he's oichel nevelis at the oven, and he eats non-shechted animals for his pleasure. Meaning, it's not lehaches. It's not because he's angry at anyone. He doesn't mind keeping the mitzvahs. To him, it's just more convenient not to eat kosher. So then, what do? Baidek sak, and you can check the knife. If there's a nick on the knife, then the shechita is possible. So therefore, what can you do? You take the knife. You can check the knife on your own. And then you give it to him. Because once, and then you're allowed to eat his shechita. Because once you know that he has a kosher knife, he will never be dafka on purpose mess up a shechita. He also wants to eat kosher if it's convenient. And therefore, once you check the knife for him, so then you can rely on his shechita. So says Rabashi, according to Raava, we can say that the pshat in the Mishnah is, Hakol Sheichtin means that if you already checked the knife, you can give it to him and let him shecht lechatchila. Aval loy bodak v'nosan loy. But if you did not check the knife and you gave him the knife, and then says the Gemara, lo yishchot, he should not shecht. V'im shachat. However, if he did shecht without you checking the knife before, boidek sakinoy acharav, then after the shechita, you should check the knife. Nimtzei sakinoy yafeh. If the knife is okay, if it's kosher, doesn't have any nicks, mutar lechol mishchita. So you're allowed to eat the shechita because you know that it was okay shechita. V'im lav also lechol mishchita. And if not, you can't eat the shechita. So that's shechita sakshera. The second clause of the Mishnah is b'di'eved. If you did not check the knife before you gave it to him, before he shechted it, then b'di'eved, it's okay if you checked afterwards and you found that the knife was clean. Chutz mecharishat v'katan. The next clause of the Mishnah is dafilu di'eved nami lo shema yishu shema yidrusu shema yachlidu. And then continues the Gemara to the fourth clause. V'kulan sheshachtu ahoy. What is v'kulan sheshachtu going on? Ilay ma'charishat v'katan alakai. If we're talking back on Chereshet V'Katan, we just discussed it. V'im shachtu b'ilay, just say im shachtu. Ela Yisrael mumur. Must be, is going back to what we discussed in the beginning of the Mishnah, Yisrael mumur. Says the Gemara, if you checked it, amarta sheichet lechatchila, it's lechatchila. Not only if there's a supervision, even if there's no supervision, if you check the knife, it's okay. So why is the Mishnah, if the Mishnah in the last clause means to say that Yisrael mumur is his shechita is only kosher if there was supervision. Ella, what's it talking about? You did not check the knife before. Says the Gemara, if we have the knife, let's check it, which means you do not need anyone to supervise. All you need is to check the knife. And if the knife's not here, what does make a difference if someone supervises? We didn't check the knife. Even if someone supervised that the action of shechita was done 100% correctly, but we need someone to check the knife either before or after. And if you don't have that, it's not going to help to have any supervision during the shechita. Because dilma b'sakin peguma shachit. Maybe the sakin had a nick on it and it was a puzzle a knife and makes a puzzle a shechita. So it says the Gemara kasha. Again, we have a kasha on Rabashi. This is an open-ended question. We do not have any answer. And how to explain the last clause according to Rabashi. Ravina Omar, Ravina says, his own teretz, his own answer. Hachikatani, hakol shoichtin. What does the first clause mean? Hakol shoichtin, hakol mumchin shoichtin. Anyone who's an expert in hilchos shchita, someone who we know knows the laws of shchita. Mumchin, if he's an expert in the laws, ve'afal pi she'ein muchzakin, even though we don't know if he's an expert in handling the actual slaughter. We never actually saw him slaughter. But still it's okay, we can rely on him. Lichatchila, if we know that he knows the halachas. When are we discussing? When do we say that it's lichatchila that he can shecht? When we know that he knows hilchas shchita. Aval ein yodin bo sheyodeh lo hilchas shchita. But if we do not know that he knows hilchas shchita, lo yishchot, then he shouldn't shecht. V'im shachat. However, if someone who we did not know that he's an expert in the laws of shchita did shecht, then we check him. We test him. If he knows hilchas shchita, then mutar lechol mishchitasei. Im lav also lechol mishchitasei. And if not, you cannot. If he does not end up knowing the halachas, then you test him and he doesn't know what he was doing. So we do not rely on the shchita, and you can't eat it. So hakol shechtin means someone who's an expert. Shchitas and ksheira b'di'eved means if you did not know whether he's an expert or not. It's kosher b'di'eved if you actually tested him and he knew his beans. And then the bar continues to the next clause. Chutz mechashet v'katan dafilu di'eved nami loy shema yishu shema yidrusu shema yachlidu. And then the fourth clause v'kulan sheshachtu ahoy. On what are we going on? Ilay machashet v'katan alakoy. Same step again. If we're talking about Chashet v'Katan, then v'im shachtu mibayalei. We just talked about them. You don't have to say v'chulan. Ella must be the last clause of the kulan sheshachtu that you need supervision in order for it to be mutter. Ashe ein mumchin. It's talking about the people who we don't know are experts. Says the Gemara, v'boit g'noisei sagi. Why do you need supervision? All we need is to be able to test the guy. Why is this seifa of the Mishnah saying that if someone who's not an expert, we need to have supervision on the shechita? In order for a shechita to be kosher, we don't need supervision. All we need is to be able to test him afterwards. Says the Gemara, you're right. It's just in a case, deleisa kamon delivdike. He's not here. He ran away, or he's not in town anymore, and therefore we can't know, we can't ask him, we can't test him. He's not here. So therefore, the only way for the shechita to be kosher is if actually someone who knows hilchos shchita did supervise his shchita. V'iked amri, a different version of what Ravina Omar, of what Ravina said, he said like this, Hachikatani, this is what the Mishnah is saying, Hakol shoichtin, the first clause of the Mishnah, Hakol shoichtin, is talking about Hakol muchzakin shoichtin. Muchzakin means someone who we know, we've seen him shecht a few times. Muchzakin afal pisha ein mumchin, even though we never tested him. We don't know if he knows hilchos shchita. But we assume, since he's shechted a few times, that he's okay and he can shecht. When do we say that someone who's muchzak, even though he's not a mumche, he doesn't know hilchos shchita? Rashi says, Ein mumchin means, it must be, if we know that he does not know hilchos shchita, then no one says that his shchita is okay. The question is whether we know or not. We're talking about, so says Rashi, we're talking about a case where we don't know if a person is yodei hilchos shchita, but we know he is muchzak. And says Ravina, Hakol Sheichtin is discussing a case where he's muchzak and he shechted a few times. However, the second case, the second clause of the Mishnah of Shchitas and Ksheira, that's talking about a case when is it lechatchila for him to be able to shecht? Is if he shechted, he slaughtered 2 or 3 times in front of us, and he didn't faint from the queasiness of slaughtering an animal and all the blood. But if he did not shecht in front of us, so he's not muchzok as a sheichet. He hasn't done it 2 or 3 times. Lo yishchot. he should not slaughter Shema Yis Aleph, for he might faint. And if he would have fainted in the middle, then he might have messed up the shechita. V'im shochat. However, if he did shecht, v'omar bari li sheloi nis alafti, shechita seikshera. If he said, I'm sure that I did not faint, then shechita seikshera. So according to the second version of Ravina, the first clause of Mishnah Kol Sheichtin is discussing someone who is muchzak, even though we never tested him on the shechita. He can go ahead and shecht lechatchila. However, if someone who's not muchzak, so then we have to hear from him that he says, I know for sure I did not faint. If we hear that, then it's kosher b'diavad. Then Ravina continues to the next clause. And then again the fourth clause. Ella ashe'ein muchzakin, says the Gemara, must be according to Ravina. The last clause of the Mishnah is coming to talk about a case of ein muchzakin. We don't know, we did not see that the guy shechted 2 or 3 times, and we can't trust. Maybe he fainted. And therefore, you need supervision in order to say that it's okay. It says the Gemara, Ve'amart bebari li sagi. Didn't you tell me that we don't need anyone to supervise? All we need is to ask the guy, and if he says that I didn't faint, I'm 100% sure I did not faint, then we can trust that it's a kosher shechita. So why is the seif of the Mishnah telling me that I need an actual supervisor in order for the shechita to be okay? Says the Gemara, the same answer as before. In a case where the guy's not around for us to ask him if he's 100% sure that he didn't faint, then we need a supervisor. Now, the Gemara continues to compare the different answers. Ravina v'Rabbi bar Ula ke'Abaya v'Rava v'Rav Ashi lo amri. Ravina is just this past Amari that we mentioned, that talked about mumcha and muchzak. Rabbi bar Ula was the first opinion that said that our Mishnah is discussing an impure person, a tamei b'mukdashim. They did not want to say like Abaya, Rava, and Rabashi. Why? Mishum dekashya lehu v'chulan. Because in each of Abaya, Rava, and Ravashi's answers, we left off with the question on the last clause of v'chulan. We left off with the kashya. Kulhu ki Rabbi bar Ula amri. All of the Amoraim did not want to say like Rabbi bar Ula, who said that we're dealing with a tamei person shechting kachim. Lehach lishna de amrat hacha ikar. According to the version that we said on Beizam and Beiz, that hacha ikar, that our Mishnah is the main place, according to Rabbi bar Ula, our Mishnah is the main place that teaches us that a tamei cannot shecht kachim. Adrabah, the Amoraim over here argue and say, no, hasam ikar, the bekachim koi. Our Mishnah should not be discussing a tamei. Why would they want to say that the Mishnah is talking about a tamei b'mukdashim? This is not the place for it. The place for it really is in kachim, in the other Mishnah. And according to the version that Rabbi bar Ula agrees and says that hasam ikar, that you're right. Really, the Mishnah in Zvachim that says tamei b'mukdashim is pasol, is the main place where the Tana teaches us. And just over here, it's derech agab. Over here, it's by the way that the Mishnah teaches me that a tamei is pasol. The hacha aidi de Tana tamei b'chulin Tana nami tamei b'mukdashin. Says the Gemara, tamei b'chulin gufei lo yitzrichale. They hold not like Rabbi bar Ula, because they say that we don't need the clause of tamei, that a tamei person cannot shecht chulin, because they hold chulin shenaisu al taras hakodesh lav kakodesh damu. Rabbi bar Ula explained that the first clause of the Mishnah, kol sheichtin, is talking about an impure person who shechts chulin al taras hakodesh. Chulin al taras hakodesh, we explained, is someone who accepted upon himself to eat chulin, even regular non-holy items, to eat them as if it's kodesh, with the purity of himself as if he's eating kachim. So Rashi over there explained that Rabbi Bar Ula holds, that the Mishnah holds, that it's really a chiyuv d'Rabbanan to make sure you're eating chulin al taras hakodesh. You're eating chulin with the purity as if it's kodesh, if this person accepted upon himself. But over here, these Amoraim do not want to say like Rabbi Bar Ula. Even if you're saying that the Mishnah is only mentioning a case of Tameh that's shechting kachim, only derech hakav, it's only by the way, still they do not want to say it because they hold that there is no imperative to eat chulin al taras hakodesh, and therefore the Mishnah will not be teaching that to me. They hold you lavke kodesh dam, you do not have to act as if it's kodesh. Kulu ki Ravina lo amri, all the Amoraim did not say like Ravina. Ravina was the one who had two versions. Lahach lishna damar mumchin in she'ein mumchin la, according to the version in Ravina where Ravina was saying that a mumche, meaning someone who you know that he knows l'chashita is allowed to shech l'chatchila, but someone who doesn't know, someone who we don't know that he knows l'chashita, that's b'diavad and we have to test him according to that version of what Ravina said. So the Amoraim do not want to say like Ravina. Why? Because they hold roiv mitzuyin eitzel shchita mumchin hein. Most people who are matzui etzel shchita, most people who are shechting are mumchin hein, and therefore we don't even have to test the person. Ravina said that shchita is like sheira. The second clause in the Mishnah was talking about a case who we do not know if he knows ilchas shchita, and still, and in order for the shchita to be okay, we have to test him. These Amoraim say no. Once a person shechted it, roiv mitzuyin, the majority of people who come to shecht, they know their hilchos shchita, and therefore we don't have to test him. According to the second version of what Ravina said, that someone who's muchzak, someone who we know has shechted 2 or 3 times, he could shecht lechatchila. But someone who we do not know if he shechted a few times, we're chayshish. We're scared he might faint and mess up the shechita. Say these Amoraim, le'alufei lechashinan. We know it's not a probable thing to faint, and therefore we don't care about that. We're not chayshish for someone fainting, and therefore they do not want to say like Ravina, who says that lechatchila, someone who never shechted 2 or 3 times can't shech lechatchila because he might faint. They say it's not a problem. Raava lo yomer ke'Abaye. Now we're going within Raava, Abaye, and Rabashi. They all ended off with kashiyas. We all had questions on Raava, Abaye, and Rabashi. We all ended off with kashiyas on the last clause of the Mishnah, according to them. So the question now is, how come Raava didn't say like Abaye and not like Rabashi? So Raava lo yomer ke'Abaye ki kushye, because Raava holds that Yotze v'nichnas is okay. Again, Abaye said Yotze v'nichnas does not work, and Raava says, no, as long as you have a mashgiach coming in and out, you can be samech that the kusi shechted correctly. Abaye le'amar ki Raava, Abaye didn't say like Raava, because he says, Hasam loy noga. Hocha noga. Says Abaye that you, Raava, are saying that the Mishnah is talking about Yotze v'nichnas, and Yotze v'nichnas is fine lechatchila, and you're bringing a raya from the Brayson of Avodah Zarah that says that Yotze v'nichnas is enough. Says Abaye, only over there it's enough because you know that the guy didn't touch it. The guy did not touch the wine. Hocha naga, over here you know the kusi actually shechted it. So therefore, says Abaye, don't bring me a raya from that braysa in Avodah Zarah that Yotze v'nichnas is okay. It's not true. Yotze v'nichnas is not okay, and only over there because you know he didn't touch it. You know the Ovid Kechavim, the idolater, did not touch the wine, and therefore over there it's okay. But over here, you know that the kusi shechted the animal, so therefore you can't utilize Yotze v'nichnas as enough to say the shechita is kosher. Rabbi Ashi Lo yomar ketarvayu. Rabbi Ashi did not say like either of them. Kasovar kusim gerei arayasein. Rabbi Ashi holds that kusim, these people, this nation that Sancheirav brought to Eretz Yisrael, we said they were Megayer because the lions were attacking them. He says they were insincere converts. And since they were insincere converts, they're not really considered Jewish, and their slaughtering is rendered invalid. Abaye, and therefore he does not say like Abaye and Raava, he does not say that the Mishnah is talking about a kusi, because a kusi, his shchita is pasal. Abaye lo yamakir Rabashi, Abaye does not say like Rabashi, lo yisvira leha de Raava. Abaye does not hold like Raava. Raava is the one who said that if you have a Yisrael mummer who eats nevelis l'teyavain, that you can check the knife and then he can check. Abaye just purely argues on Raava. He says, no, that's not true. You can't check the knife for him. You can't rely on him even if you check the knife. And therefore he does not say like Rabbi Ashi that that's what the Mishnah is talking about. Ela Raava, my time, might say. Rabbi Ashi, when explaining the Mishnah, is using Rava's shita. So asks the Gemara, why doesn't Raava himself say like his own shita? Says the Gemara, Lidvarav de Abaye ka'omar, b'leilei sviralei. Really, Raava does say like Rabashi. Raava does use his own statement that a Yisrael mummer, you can check the knife and let him shecht, and that's what the Mishnah is talking about. Raava, the Raava that we have on Gimel Amud Aleph, is only answering Abaye according to Shitas Abaye. Abaye does not agree with Raava, and therefore, and Abaye said that the Mishnah is talking about a kusi. Raava on Daf Gimel Amud Aleph is only talking to Abaye according to Abaye's opinion, and saying that according to you, Abaye is talking about a kusi, Yotze v'nichnas should be okay, and you should say that the Mishnah is talking about Yotze v'nichnas, like Raava on Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. But really, deep down, Raava does hold like Rabbi Ashi. Ad kan Daf Gimel. Taisva says, Taisva's Dibra Masechel Kasovar Kusim Gera Rayasein, that because the Kusim were not sincere converts, therefore they are considered non-covenantal and their slaughtering is invalid. Taisa says, their shchita is puzzle just like an idolater. Mi v'zovachta, from the word v'zovachta, mashat hazoveach ha'oichel. Kloimar. The pasuk says v'zovachta. That's how we know shchita, that you have to shecht. Mashat hazoveach ha'oichel, what you shecht, that's what you eat. Kloimar, says Taisus, meaning, oisay shu bar zricha, the person who is obligated in slaughtering, he's the one that can slaughter. Someone who's not obligated cannot slaughter. This is to exclude a